Okay, how's everybody doing? Welcome, welcome. I agree. Top Shot, Hot Shot. That video is so relaxing. Thank you to Restream, which gave me a free month of their premium service. I will probably have to figure out what I'm going to do next month. 'Cause- because yeah, for whatever it is, 40, $50. Come on, times are hard. Times are hard on the boulevard. Uh, we have a guest today. I'm just waiting for him to show up. His name is Matt Sposta, and I found out about him because I don't know if he created, but he has a company called Trove, which is all about like collectibles, physical cards. Um, I think probably some digital in there also. So yeah, I thought it would be interesting to talk to him. And he's also an early Top Shot guy. So he was there when everyone else was there, when everything was going very crazy in the NBA Top Shot marketplace. He was there. And it's always fun to reminisce about those days, isn't it, folks? But he also has he has a digital grading company, AI grading. He also created the Chibi Labs NFT project. And then he also had a company called the Hall of Fantasy League, which I think was also like an online collectibles fantasy product, I think. And then he sold that. So this guy's a big deal. This guy's done a lot of stuff. So we are just waiting for him to show up. Uh, Hopefully that'll be soon. Anyway, what else do you guys want to talk about? What happened this week? I know there's been a little bit of drama around NBA Top Shot. What else is new? Matt is here though, so let's bring him in. Here we go. Bring him in. There he is. There's Matt Sposta. Hello, sir.
How we doing?
We are doing well. I was giving you an introduction before you got here that you've done a lot of things. Your timing is actually kind of excellent because you had a NFT project, Chibi Labs, right? And I don't know if that's still going or what's going on with that, but like I remember hearing about Chibi Labs when NFTs were not a dirty word.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick little background. I'm a New York guy, born and raised Wall Street early in my career. Found crypto super early, 2013. Always had this like entrepreneurial bug in spirit, and ended up building a business on the side, which was a fantasy sports company. While I was on Wall Street, walked away from my career, ended up building and scaling that business, sold it to a public company. This was in late 2020, early 21. This was right around the time that I got back into like crypto in a big way. I was part of kind of like I was going to say beta of Top Shot, but like the early OGs of Top Shot in after summer of 2020,
Wow.
which was pretty early for the Top Shot community.
Yeah, that is
And
early.
then I went Top Shot. I think we all got into Zed Run after that, and then we all started buying these 8 pictures. But right around that time, I had met our partner at Chibi Labs, who was also the artist, and he had launched these amazing 3D characters. And we were like, hey, let's go out and do something. The first mint for the original Chibi Genesis collection was actually a week before Bored Apes.
Hmm.
If you can imagine that. And then our first generative collection was in September of 2021. That was like one of those instant gas war FOMO sellouts. And that was kind of like the beginning of launching just like an amazing experience community. Obviously, it's really difficult and costly to maintain these projects and communities. We went as long as we could for about 3+ years. Community's still around, vibes are still there. But I think people had to kind of move on and focus on their careers and their lives and their families and stuff like that. But it was really an amazing ride.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that before our chat today, which is like, are there any NFT projects that like just continually stand the test of time? Like even if you think of Bored Apes, right? Bored Apes is the NFT project. And even Bored Apes, I don't know if like the vibes are still as strong as they once were. I mean, I'm sure they have their yearly events and all that, but it almost seems like I was thinking about this. Um, the the communities that get engaged in digital collecting, it feels very emotional to me. Like it's very emotional. You're really tied in emotionally to these like little pictures and little character traits. And then like a few years later, like it's like the Toy Story. You
Well,
put your toy in the corner and go find something else.
Well, that's why I think it's so intense in such a short period of time that people give themselves to this. And I think that's why a lot of people burn out. I think that's why the teams burn out. I think that's why the IPs burn out. And I think the projects that have stood the test of time are the ones that don't have massive expectations around
Mm.
what the return is going to be from the project, from the community. And those are the ones that like are like purely vibes. Like if you think of like crypto dick butts or something like that, like that
Yeah.
one's been around forever. And like there's no expectations, or like cryptodes. Like that's another one that was just like the one of the first CCOs after CryptoPunks. And people were just like, oh, this thing is just like about vibes. And it's just like there was no expectations around like, what sort of, additional mints are we going to get, or how much money are we going to make? So I think a lot of it had to do with expectations, but I look at that period as like really sort of this learning lesson for the Web3 industry. There were so many really great things that were pulled out of there. It was like, what I really found is like a lot, we know a lot of people are here for financial gain. How many people could like really kind of benefit from the ecosystem or project that they're a part of. But like what I really learned is that a lot of the value that was derived from some of these early Web3 projects was really derived in like, how could I learn from the community? How could I build off the community? And how could I basically build some sort of successful project or career based on that? And when I look at all the OG Top Shot folks, they've all gone on to do some really amazing things in Web3. When I look at a lot of the OG punks that I knew, same thing. Apes, not as much. Some apes that I know ended up going on to do things, but it was really some of those like early communities before 2021. And then you had a lot of grifters coming in 2021 and after. So, but it's like some of the best operators in Web3, some of the best investors in Web3, some of the best traders in Web3 all kind of got their start really in some of those like OG Web3 products.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. What is interesting to you currently? I saw this these like strategy coins that I don't know too much about, but that was sort of the meta like 2 weeks ago, and I don't know if that's already if that's already finished,
There's
but
always a
like
new meta. They come and go, right? So look, everything that I've been doing has kind of been flip-flopping between like physical collectibles, digital collectibles. Early in COVID, I got back into collecting, trading cards again, which was like my childhood passion. That like fully consumed me. And then I got into Top Shot and NFTs, and that consumed me again. And then, it kept going back and forth. Now all of a sudden there's this like bridge between the two. And physical collectibles being digitized as real world assets on chain is like the new hot thing.
mm,
Right. And it's been really amazing to watch kind of these two worlds collide, because they're both like very much my worlds. And I love some of the companies and what they're building. Like, Courtyard was a company that was around forever. They were a Web3 company, so no one paid any attention to them. And then I think a lot of people like realized that it's kind of like a casino, and they started using it as like when meme coins kind of died down over the last year. They were like, hey, what kind of casino could we tap into? And realize that like they could have a lot of fun spinning the vending machine. Collector Crip is another one that recently launched that's been doing really well. I mean, it's purely gambling, so it's not necessarily for the true collector. Although when you think about it from a gambling standpoint, it's not like a binary outcome. It's not like you either win or lose. There's some sort of intrinsic value prize at the end of it. So I'm really trying to understand like how can you use Web3 infrastructure, DeFi mechanics, and things like that to really help streamline the process of collecting, whether it's physical collectibles, bringing those on chain, really kind of accelerating the velocity of money within the ecosystem. I have two businesses in the physical collectible space, but we're looking at digital angles and other ways to kind of tap into kind of this new cohort of collectors. So it's been really fun, fascinating to watch. Another thing that's been really interesting is watching Panini blockchain start popping up again. I was there very early on, didn't catch on. About 2 or 3 years later, all of a sudden, Panini loses a lot of their licenses to Fanatics. Fanatics is all in on licenses and physical collectibles. And then all of a sudden, you see the Panini blockchain community just like come out in full force in a way that feels very much like early Top Shot days, right? These drops happen, they get sold out in minutes, and then you're looking at like a 5 to 10x on pack sales, like literally within the next hour, and just like, oh my god.
What do you make of that? Because I know you're a finance guy, so like the narrative on Top Shot was that this kind of I guess model was like unsustainable. That eventually, that was going to somehow break the ecosystem, where packs would get purchased and immediately flip for 10x.
My feeling is this, and this applies to both worlds. Like, if you can't manage and understand whether it's tokenomics or economics or underlying dynamics that are driving these type of ecosystems, it's purely a supply demand play, right? And if we're seeing that supply is far outpacing demand, then you're going to see like a junk wax era like we saw in trading cards in the early 90s. And we may see that again, although we're actually starting to see that industry grow. If we find out that this is pure speculators coming into Panini blockchain right now, and no one actually cares about these cards outside the small hits, the few big hits that they're looking for, then we're going to see the same exact thing happen here, right? The reason why there are a lot of reasons why Top Shot, failed to achieve a lot of like their benchmarks and milestones is because they got greedy and they saw the demand, and had they just kept supply, reined it in a little bit, and the people who came in February of 2021 didn't get their absolute like balls blown off. Like, sorry if this is a family show.
No, I don't think there's any kids watching.
Yeah, there would be a different conversation going on right now, because you would have had a way more vibrant ecosystem with people who didn't lose a ton of money. They would have built real adoption, but real utility. And now we're looking like almost 4+ years later, and we're like, what happened? And people are still trying to cling on to that and hold on to what's left in the community. But I'm even seeing it in the traditional like card world right now. It's like Fanatics got these licenses. Fanatics had to go out and pay Victor Wembanyama to be an exclusive signer. It's like, man, how are we going to justify the amount that we're paying him on an annual basis? Well, we're going to launch a Mercury product that has Wemby exclusive autos in it. Same sort of thing. They priced this thing at like $12,000. The secondary went nuts. Breakers were breaking this stuff. A year later, like those cards were basically like worthless. Like no one cared about them. They overproduced them. There wasn't real demand. It was like a lot of hype that was created. And it's just like, you have to have really smart, thoughtful people thinking about this. Like, I'll give you an example. Gary Vee's the king of this, right? Gary understands scarcity. So like when he first launched the VFriend stuff with the Topps Chrome, he really held back supply and he wasn't being greedy. He's like, we got to sell as much of this as possible. He's like, we're going to sell a little bit of it and we're going to create FOMO around it. And then he launched a Sapphire product, which only had maybe a couple hundred boxes. And I think most of them went to the gift goat holders, but like those are trading for like $7,000 on the secondary. So like Gary really understands supply and demand, but most of these companies are so greedy that they're like, hey, this may be our only shot. We got to hump it while we can and make as much money. And that's usually what kills these things long term.
Yeah. I feel like most of these companies are venture backed, and as you know, like chart got to go up. But yeah, it's interesting to think about, and obviously, like this audience is primarily a Top Shot audience, and so you have your diehards watching this kind of thing. And I think that Top Shot's sort of in this interesting position where what you said, which would happen to their economy, where you put too much supply out. I mean, that's like the story of what happened here. And they're trying to just continually improve upon the product and continually improve upon like the gaming features. They have this game called Fast Break, which is basically fantasy with your moments and things of that nature. They also, I believe, they have some kind of an agreement with Cooper Flag. I don't really know what that is going to entail. But I suppose I could throw the question to you as someone who runs these businesses, like with the story the way it has gone with NBA Top Shot, like what would you do going into this new season, knowing what you know and knowing even these little pieces about how their gaming side's getting stronger? You know, they have Cooper Flag, who's a big name. Like what are some things that you might do, just keeping in mind what has already happened in the past 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, so disclaimer, I actually work with Top Shot. One of my businesses is called Trove. It's a content and media business. I approached Jacob, who I've known for many years, and like for all, for all the crap that Jacob gets, he's been there since day one and he's shown up every single day. I give the guy a lot of credit. He's taken a lot of abuse. Um, but I think they just need to go back to their roots, right? I think they need to go back to what people really loved about it, which is like the collecting piece. I think they need to really gain more trust in the consumer base and the audience, and they need to build trust. I think a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth when they hear the name Top Shot because of what happened in 2021. And they just need to bring that joy back, why we loved it originally, like what made it so special. And I think a lot of that has to do with building real utility, which I think Fast Break does, which, I was really excited about that. But I also think they need to start engaging the community in different ways. And they need to change the narrative, right? Just my feed is just constantly filled with negativity from, kind of like old Top Shot heads who just like won't get out of their own way, won't just leave the platform alone. But like with any of these communities, these digital communities, you start small, right? You start with a really kind of trusted base and trusted audience. And it's funny, I've been watching this for 4 years and it happens all the time. You get these little niche communities, they build and grow and there's excitement, and then those people turn on Top Shot and then they build again and it starts all over. And you see these cycles of people continually turning because it doesn't meet their expectations. So what that tells me is that expectations haven't been managed properly in terms of what people want. And I think that comes straight from the top. I think there needs to be more vocal leadership, right? Roham's been behind the scenes for a long time. He should be more vocal. Jacob's kind of been like, the face of Top Shot. I just saw they brought in Drew Austin to Top Shot, which I think like all these things help, right? Drew was one of the early OGs. He brought me into Top Shot, back in summer of 2020. So I think bringing in guys like this who understand business, who understand like what made this community special in the first place, are going to help them kind of like, get through the woods and, get out of this funk that they've been in. But like, that's not to say like they're still around. They survived this, right? They still have product. They still have product that they're actively releasing. So you still have a lot of the pieces there. It's just a matter of, figuring out like, and a lot of these Web3 communities, like just kind of have to throw a bunch of stuff against the wall to see what sticks. And like Top Shot is one company right now that has the ability to kind of like create their own path and figure out a new meta. And I think that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, I mean, it's anyone's guess what that new meta is. I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to predict as well. I'm trying to imagine like what they could be up to. I mean, having like the top rookie and one of the most hyped rookies in years who has some kind of an agreement with you, you would think there's some opportunities there that might get interesting. But they actually just shared this. I don't know what exactly this is. I think it's an announcement of an announcement, but it's saying that let's just read this season tip-off roadmap, October 21st. So that's in 5 days. This isn't just any update. This is setting a new foundation. We're channeling every piece of community feedback into action. Scarcities are top priority with reduced mint counts across the board. Drops that mean more with a collector-first experience. Lots of burning and new analytics tools to help you collect your way. clarity and confidence, cementing the collecting experience with more two-way communication. All this and the new and
I did
improved
not
fast
read
break
this. I
best
swear
game.
to God, I did not read this, but this is everything I just said. It's like building trust, being transparent, working on supply and demand and scarcity. Like, and by the way, if I had to guess, this is probably Drew's influence because these are the top things that we've been hearing for years that people are pissed about. It's like we need to
Right.
go back to our roots and back to our knitting, and this is going to be the way we do it. So, like, those are words right now. There needs to be actions that follow that to gain trust. And by the way, I've been, an inactive holder. I still have a decent sized portfolio, but like I could get pulled back in with, just like a few announcements like this, some stuff that gets me really excited. But
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, it's there. We can receive announcements, and I feel like every community gets things similar to this, which is like, we're building, just trust us, just wait, something really cool is coming. But really, it's you just got to deliver. You got to deliver something cool, and I think that most of the people in this community have been, smashing the table for a long time about the problem of the lack of scarcity, and I think that one issue that I struggle to understand, like what's the way forward, is when you've already released a crap load of product and there's like way too much of it. It's almost like me asking you, okay, go make the junk wax valuable again. Like you might say, well, I
yeah,
can't.
you
Like
can
there's
though.
just too
There
much
there
of it.
are ways. I mean,
So
we've talked
so so
about
so
no,
tell me that.
we've seen it before. If done properly, you could do burns, you could do trade-ins for tickets and stuff like that. Like do a purge, right? There could be a
Yeah.
massive purge that happens across a lot of different sets. Like to me, I go back and look at the series one stuff. I'm like, yo, this stuff should like be going nuts right now. What series are we on right now?
It's now they're numbering it by the year, but I think technically it's series
That's what I'm
6, I want to
saying. Like,
say.
there should be Series One commons right now that people could go back. Like, and by the way, this may happen in 5 years. That all of a sudden, like, any sort of Series One commons are super rare, super scarce, and they're like, the floors on those things are a couple $100 at a minimum, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that sounds
it
that
doesn't.
insane. I mean, it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy right now, but like it might not be so crazy if we can assume that digital collecting continues to build. And that's why like with all this Panini stuff, I got to admit, this stuff doesn't always make sense to me. It always feels quite random. Like I don't understand why Panini was basically doing nothing and then all of a sudden out of nowhere
Collectability
it's
doesn't
like you
make
got
sense. It doesn't.
yeah,
What makes something
exactly.
collectible does not make sense. It is something that has certain influences. It comes from people, it comes from tastemakers, and it's going to take the right people to collect it for it to really like gain prominence. Or it's going to take, like look, we're not going to be in a place where in 50 years from now the S1s were sitting in someone's closet and half of them, went through floods, so they're in bad condition. Like they're going to be preserved as is. So the scarcity factor isn't going to be impacted by like condition or something like that. So it's going to be something else, right? And it may be like who owned this or where it was owned or how it was owned. I don't know. Provenance is really important in collectability. So that could be something.
Yeah, yeah. I know we have Matt in the chat who's a big fan of the Series One stuff as well. He thinks that the way that the product was released in terms of scarcity, we saw really scarce stuff earlier, and then it ballooned, and then it's getting scarcer again. So he's basically saying like something's broken. It can't be this way. It can't be that the Series Two stuff is more voluminous than, let's say, we'll call it the Series Six stuff. It should all make more sense as a, I guess, like a timeline of scarcity. That's
That's
like one of his
possible,
things.
but when you look at Series 2 and Series 3, those they had more active users than they ever had, right? That was and you were
Right.
basically printing enough supply to the supposed demand, which was probably oversupply at that point.
Yeah, I think that also like when we're looking at commons, if you think about common base moments and you look at even physical cards, the majority of the time the common base stuff is not really that valuable. Like it's valuable because it's in that, Michael Jordan rookie card set and people want to collect the
Yeah.
entire set. But otherwise, you look at other commons, they're
Like
not
you
very
just said
valuable.
it,
So,
right? Set registry is really
yeah.
important, right? So if you incentivize people to own those commons, then you add more utility to them, right? It's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
same thing. It's like, think about what a base 86 Fleer random player is in a PSA 10. If it's scarce, someone wants to make that PSA set registry, and the only way they could do it is with that card. So, right, you're actually adding utility to cards that otherwise wouldn't have value, right? I always say that set registries and things like that are a way to create utility for cards, and this is
Yeah, for
not this
sure.
this this isn't
And
much different. So
yeah, and I think that Top Shot had these. They kind of gamified the way to collect sets. They gave you kind of rewards for collecting sets because the way that it used to work is that if your collector score was high enough, then you would have a better chance, I think, of landing packs. And basically people would collect sets or of teams that they didn't really even care about just so that they could have a better chance of getting these packs, which you could then flip. But things have sort of mutated so much, and I think that's to be expected in like one of these kind of cutting edge Web3 product. But I think they do need to get back to something where sets feel important again. Sets feel important to collect, and you'd like it to just be intrinsic, but then that's also part of the problem is that it wasn't intrinsic for a while. It was like you get rewarded for collecting these sets. And that almost feels a little broken because collectability in some way maybe shouldn't be that way. Or is the magic of Web3 is that it should be that way, that because it's beyond intrinsic. The fact that you collected this thing puts you in like a special card holder group, you know?
and that's look, a lot of these things that we're talking about, you can't just introduce these things like and hope that they're successful immediately. This is stuff that grows over time, right? If you create these aspirational things like set collections and there are real rewards on the end, that stuff is going to build over time because aspirational things like take time to build, and it's not something that like someone's going to jump in and go crazy immediately around it. So I think there has to be a multi-step process, and looks like they're trying to achieve that, where it's like trust and transparency, or transparency, then building trust, and then over communicating, and bringing in products, supplies, and working on scarcity and things like that, and then working towards like these reward programs that get people more involved in a stickier product.
Yeah. I think part of the difficulty too, though, is even if you take the example that I just gave about there was this reward system in place, which was then changed, and a lot of people were like threw their hands up in the air and like, how are we supposed to trust you? Like you just told us how to collect, and now you're completely changing the rules. Um, so that is what's hard, and I think that it relates to something that you earlier said, which was that people have this kind of bad taste in their mouth just because of what happened in the past. So you have to somehow build trust, like a new bedrock of love trust on top of where there was broken trust in the past. Um, and that I think that's harder. It's easier said than done, but that's what they have to do.
I agree. That's definitely a difficult thing to do. Especially because it's been like years of abuse and people just being critical. And look, a lot of it is like, I think a lot of it is a little bit irrational and unreasonable. And, I think the idea, like a lot of us felt so burned because there was all this money raised and there's all this money to potentially be spent. And we were all looking to get rewarded or taken care of, or people wanted experiences, and no one really got that. And then it was always just like, well, where did that money go? And now it's like 5 years later, and it's like slowly we're seeing, small investment being made over time, but like, where was the give back? I think that's what a lot of people's questions were.
And I actually think, I mean, I don't know what the logistics or feasibility would be, but I almost think that's almost a necessary thing right now for like the people that are still here. When we have these ideas of huge burns and huge, like they actually ran this, I think, a year ago, which was I don't know how many thousands of dollars of like basically a burn reserve where you could just send your moments in and you would get back credit that you could then spend on the website. So these are ideas that I really liked. But obviously you need they need to be able to front up that cash, whatever it was, 100 grand, whatever it was. And they also had a really interesting thing that they were doing pretty regularly where you ripped packs, and if you didn't like what you got, you could instantly get credit back for those moments. And if you got something nice, you would get more credit, You know, you wouldn't just get a little under the pack credit. You'd
So
actually
that
get more.
that's the repack model, right? That's the courtyard model.
Right.
And I think people gain trust in a system that's able to give you more than you put in, even if you're losing 90% of the time, which is crazy because there's this like psychological thing that just saying if I put in $100 and I'm getting $30 every time, something's broken. But if I put in $100 and every once in a
Mhm.
while I get $1,000, then I'm willing to spin the wheel in the casino.
Yeah. I mean, we see that there's actually a product on Flow as well called Beezy. There's Courtyard. There's the other one that you mentioned,
Electric
Collector
Grid,
or
yeah.
something or other. Do you think that this is where the future is headed? Because you mentioned something about gambling, which, like, look, at its core, ripping open a NFT pack or doing a mint and hoping you get a gold skin, that is gambling. Like, however you want to wrap it up. But what's interesting to me is how we have this like poly market thing happening right now, and that seems to be a huge movement. And I'm wondering, I haven't really done the thinking quite all the way yet, but I'm wondering how that being so popular right now, I wonder how that's going to somehow affect
I
things.
mean,
Do you have any
my
thoughts there?
thoughts are look everywhere, right? We're in this really strange environment and market where everyone just wants to gamble, right? Whether it's prediction markets, whether it's trading in the stock market, whether it's NFTs, crypto. I mean, look what happened with crypto last week. I mean, we had a bigger wipeout in a one-day move um, off of some silly news about Trump making a statement about China than we did when the FTX collapse happened. There's only one reason why that
It's
happened
insane.
is because there's so much leverage in the system that people are just trading like animals, right? It's all gambling.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look, sports betting, fantasy, it's like it's all consuming for everyone. And it's really scary because I don't know where the money goes. It's only going one way, really, right? And it's going towards the corporations. It's not being redistributed. People can't afford to live. You know, inflation's rising. It's really scary. Like we're really kind of fucked as a society. I'm not gonna lie. Um, no, it's really scary to think about.
So in other words, just start shorting. Just get ready to short. Go
I mean,
get ready
look,
to short as soon as Trump starts talking about soybeans
I
again.
look, I was in financial markets for a long time. I was on Wall Street. I started my career at Lehman Brothers in 2007. So I lived through that bankruptcy my first year out of college. Um, we haven't had a real recession, like a real recession in almost 18 years, right? We had a little blip on the radar that happened during COVID and then the markets bounced back. Like that's a long time. Recessions typically happen like every 7 to 10 years. Like it's scary how fragile I believe the system is because it's just been like propped up. Um,
Have you taken a look at the gold chart lately?
and look, I couldn't even tell you what that means. Like, it's so irrational that gold's doing what it's doing. But like, you could almost look at gold as saying, like, all right, if people are really considering this a safe haven, then this is only screaming one thing that the market is completely fucked, right?
Yeah.
Um, but like at the same time, like I don't know, the crypto chart should look exactly the same as that, right? Because if people believe that
And yet,
Bitcoin is a similar counter trend to that, then yeah, I don't know. It's very odd. You know, if you look at gold and you track it versus rates and inflation and stuff like that, with inflation coming down, you would think gold should have been, moving down somewhat with it. So I think gold is probably signaling something a lot worse than sort of inflationary risks or anything like that. So that scares me.
yeah, this gold chart is terrifying. Like this just makes me think everyone's like, I want to get my chips off this casino. Like something's about to break. Like that's just how this feels. But yeah, kudos if you're a gold investor. I saw there was a image. I think it was in Australia or something. People were lining up like around the bend at a shopping mall to pick up physical gold. So something really strange is going on. I think silver as well. And then, like you said, meanwhile you have your crypto, which is your digital gold, and that I think crypto is basically just mirroring
Yeah, crypto
equities
should
because
be
if we
one
go
to
look at
one
the
with the
S&P,
S&P, and
yeah.
I for everyone that's saying like this is supposed to be a digital gold or safe haven asset or something, like I don't know, it just looks like a risk asset to me right now.
Yeah, these two charts basically look the same. I mean, at least recently, there was a little bit of divergence in before September, but
Yeah, but the crypto
otherwise they look
market
the
is
same.
scary to me right now because it's so heavily manipulated by institutions. Like I whether Trump and his cronies were involved in that slam down that happened last week, there were some big institutions that had, good till cancel orders way below the market that got filled on those, and they were very happy to get entry points. So I don't know what any of this means. I
Yeah,
stopped
and I
believing
think,
and trusting in anything that seems to be legit because nothing seems to be nothing meets the eye anymore. It's like
well, crime is legal now. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are saying that it was Barron Trump who shorted Ethereum and made like $30 million because there was one like huge order that was there right before that
I don't
news
think it was
dropped, and then
Barron
that
Trump.
person just cashed in.
That would be a little risque of him. But
Whoever.
if you don't know, there's a book that talks about Barron Trump traveling to the future, yeah, with Nikola Tesla.
What?
You haven't heard about this? Oh my
No.
god.
This is like is fan fiction?
No,
What is
there was a
this?
book that basically talks about Baron von Trump traveling to the future with his uncle. It's crazy. If you want to cover that, this is one of the craziest things, and the book is with Nikola Tesla talking about time travel and like the Baron Tesla Trump thing. It's really scary. I can't believe you've never seen a video on this.
No, I'm pulling it up right now, but this is looking very strange. Hold on. I feel like I just entered the dark web or something. But Nikola Tesla and the Baron Trump
Yes.
time travel mystery. What the hell? The Baron Trump time traveler theory. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna have to
I mean, this
look
this
into
is a
this
book that
later.
was written, I don't know, like in the 1800s about a boy who time traveled, and it's crazy because all the pieces line up. If you want to do a separate video on this 19th century book from the 1800s, right there,
Oh
predicted
my
Trump's
god.
return and rise of
Wow.
his youngest son, Barron. It's wild.
Unbelievable. All right, well, that
By the
sounds like
way,
a
I
really
was never
fun
a
TikTok
conspiracy
rabbit hole.
theorist until I realized all the conspiracy theories during COVID actually came to fruition. I was like, fuck, conspiracies. There's
I
a
know.
lot of truth to most of these.
I know. Now everything is real. Um, okay. Well, let's see. What else should we cover here? Let's see. We talked some Top Shot, we talked Panini, we talked gambling, we talked what else is on your radar these days? What else is interesting to you? Or what do you make of the physical card? The physical cards actually, I haven't been following physical cards that much, but in COVID they also spiked, then dropped off the face of the earth. And I think they're on their way back up. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think a lot of cards have recovered their like 2021 peak prices. Some haven't. Um, I think people are just now, collectors are now going back and looking at older vintage or older modern cards, and realizing like there's only going to be one Michael Jordan, there's only going to be one Kobe Bryant, and a lot of people are just buying like really kind of rare one of one pieces. You're seeing a lot of institutional capital flow into the space. I don't know if you saw Kevin O'Leary just announced that he's creating his own index.
I didn't
They're
see that.
buying cards. They made a $13 million purchase of Jordan
Saw
and
that.
Kobe logo man. The repackers. So GameStop recently entered the picture as one of the repacking players, along with Courtyard and these others, are keeping a constant bid. I'd say in like the $1,000 and under range. So they can't keep up with the demand for these machines that they're kind of replenishing. So they have buyers running out to shows on eBay, scouring and buying as many cards as they possibly can. So there's been like, a lot of liquidity in that range. Is it scary? Yeah. Could the plug get pulled on this at any point? Probably. So it's just like, I don't, I think the health of the industry has been in the sense that more demand has been created over time because of like the Michael Rubin effect. He's brought a lot of exposure and awareness to the industry, and I think the industry is in a healthier place. Right, I go to a lot of these shows and I see that more people are showing up. I see that the next generation collectors are really into it, and I think we're in a good spot. Now we're seeing like the tools being built to really help support the ecosystem. One of the businesses that I'm building, which is Check AI, is a digital grading company. So we created an AI technology that allows you to snap pictures of cards on your phone and automate the process of grading those cards. So if you're aware, the physical encapsulation process, which is the physical grading like PSA, is a very expensive and long process. We figured out by kind of digitizing and streamlining this whole process, we could really kind of accelerate the path of people getting cards into market with more kind of trust and transparency. And the reaction so far has been amazing, and the market's responded really well. So we're excited about that.
And with that product, are you like shipping the hard case as well with the sticker and
No,
like
it's all
kind of,
digital.
so it's like a digital kind of
It's
verifiable label that you would put on it?
Yeah, that's it. And if you're transacting with the information, you have like a digital slab that you could attach, like if you're transacting on somewhere like eBay. And what's happening is the buyers have a better idea of what they're buying as opposed to guesswork, right? Because a lot of times, like I'll see a card posted on eBay and I'll just buy it without really knowing the condition. And I get the card and all of a sudden it's like, surprise, there's this damage, there's this damage. And it's just like, it's really a crapshoot and it's horrible. And no one should have to deal with that. Also, grading is very expensive and it's slow. And, if you want to have an idea of what you have prior to sending in for grading, this is a really good way to kind of pre-grade your cards and potentially save money and not waste money on grading fees.
Mm. And when you go to these card shows and you obviously do your research with physical collectors and as someone who's really interested in digital as well, um, are you seeing that more and more physical people are like coming along with this idea that digital is next? Like, and even if you think about the Panini rise now, do you think that was physical collectors that are finally dipping their toes in digital, or what do you make of? Because I've always thought that like physical collectors are very steadfast in their belief that no,
They're
physical is the only
changing.
way.
They're
Mhm.
changing. So I'd say the Panini blockchain collectors are a lot of the old physical collectors.
Okay.
So I'm seeing a lot of physical collectors convert over on the sports side. On the repacking side, like the courtyards of the world, that's very much so more TCG. So you're having a lot of Web3 people who kind of grew up collecting Pokemon cards and, are comfortable using crypto buying into these like digital repacks. And I think there's kind of like this new cohort of speculators that came along post COVID who are more comfortable with digital assets now.
Mm. Yeah, because that was always the theory that the people that, for example, are into Top Shot, you get in 2021, 2022, it's like we're early. 23, 24, we're still early. Even 25, look, we're still early. This is still really early. Like we have not matured yet. Um, and honestly, I don't really. I'd like to think that's true. I'd like to think that there's still a lot of people who will eventually start preferring digital over physical, but I'm not 100% sure what that trajectory will look like. I don't know. Like you would think that everything's going to go digital the way that like you don't even hold cash in your wallet practically anymore. You just tap your phone. So, but I think that there's like a piece of nostalgia there for the physical stuff that also will never go away, in a way that like I don't pay for my lunch with a $20 bill just because I love the nostalgia of taking out a crispy bill. Like I don't think it's the same. Anyway.
Look, I agree. Trying to convince people of something is a very hard thing to do. It has to happen through experiential stuff, right? Um, I remember trying to convince people to do Top Shot. And they're like, "What am I collecting? A digital moment? It's a replay. Do I own the replay?" I'm like, "You just have to be there, and if you understand the vibe and you get it, you'll understand." And those who jumped in loved it until they lost money, right?
Right.
And it's all part of the experience, right? I'm very much in the mindset like I'm the type of guy that will spend a couple $100 to try something as opposed to just like watching it, right? I want to immerse
Yeah.
myself in something. That was like when I bought crypto for the first time, I was buying it on the dark web, like with PayPal, like, like anytime it's really hard to access something, right? It usually means you're super early.
Yeah.
And that could be good or bad. I've lost a lot of money doing it too, but
Yeah.
I've been early to crypto. I was early to cards. I was early to NFTs. It's like sometimes you just got to take risks. But the people who are always coming in for the wrong reasons late are the ones who always get blown up,
Mm.
right? It's the people who see the money and they see the opportunity and they want to jump on the bandwagon. It's already too late. You already missed the trend.
Yeah, I feel like that makes a lot of sense. I mean, like I'm interested in like trading as well, and it reminds me of you missed the trigger to get into your trade. You missed when price took off from its demand zone, and now you're trying to get in when we're like this far away from the
Most
supply
people
zone.
don't have the discipline.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. It's like I do that all the time. Like I'll be looking at a trade, I'll look at the technicals, I'll be like, "Oh, I'm not that late." And
And then you just didn't draw down.
yeah, so a lot of these things are very similar, and I would always tell people like a lot of the stuff that you're doing, make sure you're passionate about this stuff, right? Don't do it just for financial gain. Don't ever play with more money than you can handle losing. That's usually what it comes down to. It's like, the people who see dollar signs, and that's what happens. They like start small and then they size up their trades at the wrong time and they get blown up, and it's like the worst thing. So
Yeah, I mean, well, this thing that you mentioned about the leverage was out of control, and I think it just happened again. I think it was literally 4 days later that it just happened again because of this recent dip. Because I think the same gamblers were like, "All right, well, that can't happen again, right?" And they're like 20x leverage again, and
anyone who
boom.
thought that the market fully recovered because Trump put out another tweet was like out of their mind. Damage was done, and we're in a downtrend right now, and people need to realize that. So
Yeah, but I can understand the idea that basically every dip gets bought. Like if this, like you said, there hasn't been a recession in so long that most people are just like any dip is for buying. Any time price takes a big crater down, that's when you buy. Like I don't think I've
I
heard
mean,
anyone who says
sure.
opposite.
Solana went from 225 to 140 in a matter of 12 hours. I'd buy 140. I'd buy 160. I'd buy 180. Once you start getting close to 200 again, you're like, all right, we're not that far off from where we just were, and we just recovered in what, a 2-hour period. Like something's up. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
wasn't like someone made a mistake. It was like, oops, we just dropped 90 points. Like it doesn't happen that way. There was a reason for that.
Yeah, and all those altcoins too, like literally went to zero. So everyone got liquidated. Anyone who was leveraged on altcoins got absolutely killed.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Um,
So
but anyway, I like what you just said though about how you were early, and when things feel a little dark and risky, it's potentially a good thing. Is
that's
there
when I've made
anything?
my most money.
Is there any? Is there anything that's feeling that way to you right now, or that you're researching right now, or that just feels like you're
There
super
is.
early?
There's one industry, and like I really don't want to share it, but I will. I spoke to an agency the other day who's been at the forefront of like affiliate marketing and SEO marketing and things like that. And they've been able to crack the code and be able to identify how to, tag certain things and reference certain things for some of these bigger AI platforms, right? So think of a chat GPT when you're asking a chat GPT, like, hey, I'm interested in this product, right? And chat GPTs, I don't know if you're seeing what's going on with Google right now, but Google basically just cut down. They used to offer like 10 full pages of search results and queries. Now they're only doing one.
Mm,
So Google basically told like the open AIs of the world, like, hey, you don't have full access to our search results for scraping purposes because, we're not getting paid on it and you are. So the models are changing in a way that now certain things on websites need to be cited and referenced in order to, kind of float to the top. In the same way that SEO typically works with search, the chat GPTs of the world are scraping information. So there are agencies out there who are basically building, resources and references, not necessarily to trick the AI, but to train the AI, like these are the best places to go. So when someone's asking, it's like, where's the best place to get insurance? All of a sudden it's going to start pinging and it's going to find a lot of sites that look like they're the best place to buy insurance because they've been properly cited.
That's interesting. I mean, look, I actually made some money back in the SEO days as well when you could purchase links on like you basically had like link farms and you would purchase links, you pay a monthly fee and they just spray your links all over these random ass blogs all
For
over the
like
internet.
affiliates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that worked. And I mean that kind of sounds like this. I don't know. So my only concern there is that eventually got squashed. I mean, it had 2 really good years though, and then it got squashed. So I guess as long as you
Yeah,
realize this
I
might
think
be
there's
somewhat,
opportunity here for brands. I think
yeah,
the agencies that know how to crack this code can make a lot of money in a short period of time. And I think it's also kind of rewriting the affiliate playbook. So I think there's a lot of money to make in this. And this is not traditional to like some of the risk assets and stuff we've been talking about. But, you know, you think about all the money that's moving into AI. It's like, how do you invest in picks and shovels and like where are the areas where people are going to make a lot of money?
yeah, I think that's a good point. And I don't think most people ever think about like where's this information coming from when they are chatting with their chat GPT agent. Um, so yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, very good. Well, we have like a few more minutes. I think Stan, somebody in the chat, he really likes this video clip. This came from a Vegas event when everyone was there for Summer League, and actually Jacob makes an appearance, and it's like a missed handshake, and he asks for this video almost every time we stream. So he asked that you see this video and give your thoughts. So here we go.
So I appreciate it. Yeah, man, that was awkward. Fist bump. Don't clip that. Don't clip that. Just gonna clip that. It's gonna go viral. Jesus Christ. No, I appreciate it. It was weird.
Oh, poor Jacob, man. They
I
just
know,
clown on him. The poor guy, he's been showing up every single day for 4 years. He's the only one who's just taking abuse. He's really a good dude. And like I don't know that many people get to see him. I've been seeing him a bunch because they're now showing up finally to the card conferences,
right.
right? They were at Fanatics Fest, they were at the National. Like that is stuff that we're begging for 4 years ago. So he's putting in the work, he's showing up himself. That was super awkward though.
I know. Originally, it was more of a commentary on the other guy. He was a streamer who did this stuff all the time. That was like his event. He was known as the judge. He also kind of fell by the wayside in terms of streaming, like other NFT projects. But yeah, I know that Jacob it puts in the work, and I also am in contact with Jacob as well because I do some marketing work as well for Top Shot. So I echo what you're saying there. So let's see, Chad, if you have any other questions, you want to ask Matt anything, you can put it in the chat. Let me just see if I'm missing anything else here. Yeah, I feel like we pretty much covered what we wanted to cover. I feel like we got a good array of discussion.
That was good. We didn't even prep for this, and we kind of just jumped in. I think we're both, you know, vibing in a lot of the same areas. It's funny that all of us come from the same sort of knitting. We like all intersect into all these different areas of risk assets and fun things. And
yeah, what good is the internet if you're not, you know, risking hundreds of dollars on it? Isn't that the whole point? If not thousands. But Stan wants to ask if you have any NBA picks. Are you an NBA fan? Do you have any ideas for this upcoming NBA season?
yeah, I'm a huge NBA fan. Unfortunately, I've been a Nets fan my whole life. I'm a New York guy. I was never a fan of the Knicks, and I'm still not a fan of the Knicks. And I know a lot of Knicks fans are excited this year because they think this is their year to win the East, but it's not going to happen. But I mean, the East is wide open without Boston, without Indiana. I don't know, Cleveland. They just like they never show up in the playoffs.
I know, right?
I don't know. I think the Thunder are just so good, right? And they're still so young. It's like, how do they just not continue to get better, right? They bring back the same team, same core. I think they have Topic coming now. Like, I don't know. NBA is weird. NBA is weird right now because you have this like passing of the guard. It's like,
yeah.
You know, the old school is kind of aging out, and like no one cares about like the Hardens, Durants, and even LeBrons of the world. And like, who's the next wave of players, right? Is it like SGAs and like Wemby's and like I don't know. It's just a different style of basketball now.
It does
Right?
feel like
Remember?
it does feel like one of the hardest seasons that I can remember to try to predict like a top 3 in each division. It feels very difficult. I mean, the Thunder is a clear number 1. I'd agree with you there. And after that, like I don't even know. I don't know
I think Nuggets actually did get better.
okay.
I just had Cam on my team for the last couple of years, and just seeing Michael Porter was just like he was a non anything.
And now you get to have him on your team.
Yeah, you know what? He's going to end up being really good in a feature role because he'll shoot the ball 30 times and he'll probably score 25 points a game. But like Cam is just one of those guys when he's paired with like better players, he just complements them. He's just like a pro. And they made a couple other signings. I think the Nuggets, they're like boring, but they're going to be good. Who cares about the Lakers? Like, there are a bunch of young teams out there. Like Atlanta's going to be fun this year. I think they'll compete in the East.
I think the Mavericks could do some damage. I mean, getting so lucky.
Is Kyrie going to come back this year?
That's a good question. We would need a healthy Kyrie for the
But
Mavericks.
also, like Tatum's talking about coming back this year. So, like, who the hell knows?
I know. And the Spurs, I think the Spurs are probably are like the darling pick. Everyone thinks the Spurs are going to be really good this year. I mean, if Fox really gels into that team, they could be good. I mean, Wemby obviously is one of the best players in the NBA. I feel like he's a defensive player of the year. He probably should win it every year for the next 10 years, unless
Wemby's got to stay healthy. Like, I look at Wemby right now the way I used to look at Giannis. Like, he's got to put on muscle mass, he's got to get bigger. But yeah, I mean,
didn't you see that TikTok clip of Wemby basically shoving the guy like into the stands? He looked like prime Shaq. He just got down and the guy went flying.
But they also say that Wemby's listed at like 7'4", but he's really like 7'7", 7'8" or something like that. So
it's just unreal.
This year's gonna be fun. I think. Look, we got a really good draft class. Nets made. They probably botched every single pick in this draft, which is really funny. They're like the Nets scouts were looking at the draft order from like early in the season because we ended up getting all the guys that everyone else wanted in the beginning of the season that they were off by the end of the season. Yeah, I don't know what the hell the Nets are doing. They don't have really a clear direction, so it's hard for me. But yeah, basketball is always fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be very interesting to see where we're at, like the All-Star break, just to see who are the top 6 in each side. I think it's gonna look very.
I don't think it's gonna change much. It's gonna be Thunder, Rockets, Nuggets in the West. And I still feel like Boston's going to be able to compete just because they can. You know what I mean?
Tatum has like the Wolverine Achilles or something, or like he's got the Wolverine healing ability. He's already dunking.
But I mean, Jaylen Brown and Derek White are like 2 stars. I know like people aren't going to give them credit, but like, them and a supporting cast, Pritchard's a good player. Like, I think they'll compete. Right. Yeah. And who knows, the Pacers are like a gritty. Think about the Pacers, what they did remember how bad Halliburton was most of last season?
Yeah.
Like Halliburton showed up for the playoffs, but like he disappeared most of last season.
Yeah, I think it was after the All-Star break. I think he was pretty hot the first couple months, and then he couldn't shoot. He couldn't shoot for like 4 months.
So like Pacers could still be good. They're like one of these scrappy teams. Bucks will be okay. Detroit's going to be a year older and better. Like, they're going to be fun teams. And that's the thing. It's like, it's literally a changing of the guard, right? We're seeing kind of these old legacy teams starting to fade out. And by the way, in the next 3 years, you're going to see some of these teams who have like literally busted themselves out on the cap and like overspent trying to build super teams, like have like 5-year rebuilds. Like, I don't know, like who knows what's going to happen? Like the Suns won't be able to do anything for the next 10 years almost. Wow. Like the Knicks, once the Knicks realize that they can't make a run with this current team, like they have zero flexibility. They can't do anything. And they gave up all their picks for like Bridges, which was crazy. It's like, I'm happy as a Net fan, but that was crazy.
Yeah, they're going to have to start giving people gardening contracts on the side, I think.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny.
Anyway, Matt, we're at an hour. It was very nice to chat with you. And yeah, I will keep an eye on what you got going on, and I hope you let us know any dark rabbit holes that you find yourself in. Meeting
always
people under bridges to buy things.
exactly. No, this was fun. I appreciate you having me on.
So if you want to actually just tell people who are watching or who watch the replay just again where to find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at or X at Matt Sposta, MATSPOSTA. For Check AI, you can find us on Instagram, check.ai, CHCK, or my other company, Trove, which is my content company, Find Your Trove.
Awesome. All right. Well,
Cool.
thank you so much, Matt, and take care and go Nets.
Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye.
All right, bye.